Welcome in, I'm Artris, and we're going to continue to cover some of the new leaders from OP11. By this point, they're probably not new, but we want to still cover over the leaders regardless because I like to explore what these leaders do. And so we are covering Green Yellow Shirahoshi, a 5-life leader that cannot attack. If you know anything about me, you know that I like leaders that cannot attack, so why not try Shirahoshi out? So Shirahoshi is an activate main once per turn. You may rest one of your Dawn cards and flip the top card of your life cards face up. You may play one character card with the Sea King type or up to one Megalo character card with a cost of equal to or less than the total number of Dawn cards on your board from your hand. So this is a way to cheat out cards from your hand, getting some mid-range sized bodies out onto the board and overwhelming your opponent with a bunch of attacks from your characters as opposed to your leader. But before we go over the deck list, if you're new to the channel, please make sure to drop a sub. And also, if you enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up. It helps out the channel so much. Thank you all for the support. Additionally, if you'd like to talk about the One Piece card game outside of the YouTube comments, make sure to join the Discord community. The link for that is in the description below. So starting off, we are running 4 of the Shirahoshi Searcher from this set. It says in activate main, you may rest one Dawn card and this character, and then look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to one Sea King or Fishman Island type card and add it to your hand, then place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. To be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of this card for one main reason, and it cannot search out Hody Jones, which I think is probably the best card in the deck because you're running green, so why not run a playset of Hody Jones? We'll get to that in a second. But it searches out other important cards that you can cheat out with your leader ability, so as a result, we do need to run this card. It is a 1k counter at worst. It can search itself out, so you can chain them out if you need to, but most importantly, it's finding things like Lord of the Coast. It's also finding things like Jinbei, also finding your Yoroko. So these are very important pieces to find, and so as a result, Shirahoshi needs to be in the deck at a 4 of. Lord of the Coast is a great card to find off of the Shirahoshi Searcher because for only 1 Dawn, you can cheat this out and stun a rested character. It doesn't matter the cost. This is one of your most important pieces to at least gain some tempo back. So if your opponent has bigger pieces on the field that you cannot remove through battle, this will just be able to stun it down. So it doesn't matter the cost, of course. It's the same thing as like the 5-cost Bonney for the Bonney decks. I'm running 4 of the Banish Smoker from OP10. What an amazing card for this deck, mostly because if you're on your 5 Dawn turn, you can play this Smoker out, use the ability to restand one of your Dawn cards as active, then use your leader ability to bring out another 5-cost character, more than likely going to be one of your blockers, but this is a really good card for that reason. And also on top of that, because you're not swinging into your opponent, you can use this as your main piece to swing into your opponent, and your opponent's likely going to have to counter out of this because they don't want to lose a life for nothing. So the 7k attack is a really great stat line, acquiring 2 cards out of your opponent's hand for most situations. Of course, if you're going against something like blue, purple Luffy, that'll require only 1 card, but you'll change the battle math accordingly. But Smoker really overperforms in this deck, and I wish that there was a way to search this out, but typically you're just going to be able to draw into it or at least mulligan for it, so you have a good opening 5 Dawn play, and then being able to follow that up with other cards is really powerful. Of course, Yoroko, which I just mentioned at the beginning when you're searching off a Shirahoshi, probably one of the stronger cards to be able to cheat out with your leader ability because it's just a really well-statted card. 6 cost, 8,000 power body. It is a vanilla, so it doesn't really have anything else to do, but it is just a big beater, and in a meta where there's a lot of 6k leaders, this does the job. Speaking of big beaters, the Jinbei, which you can also search off as Shirahoshi, is a really great card for this deck because it is able to have pseudo rush. So its on play says if your leader has the Fishman or Merfolk type, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less, and then activate main once per turn. Up to one of your Fishman or Merfolk type characters can attack characters the same turn in which they are played. So this it doesn't really give too many other things in your deck, the ability to swing in, but I do find it very important to have at least to be able to search off of with the Shirahoshi Searcher, and of course this being able to just swing in immediately and get value from your opponent, getting cards out of their hand is really powerful. Next, we're running a playset of the Tori 2k. It's just a searchable 2k. You can use your leader ability to cheat this out, but you're going to want to cheat out other things more than likely. This is going to be a 2k that you're going to want to hold on to for sure. Of course, we have a playset of Hody Jones having rush and then on play resting a total of 2 of your opponent's characters and or Dawn. Great way to close out games. It's not searchable, so at some points I've actually thought about putting in Kami instead of Shirahoshi Searcher, but I think that you do need to be able to get your leader ability off more than often, and being able to search out things that you can get your leader ability off with is very important. So as a result, we can't search out Hody Jones. We just kind of have to hope to draw into it through the course of a game, which when we're running 4 of them, the chances are pretty good. Wanted to add some top end into the deck, and I tried out some 10 costs, both the Beppo and Law, and then also the Doflamingo 10 cost to be able to stun. The biggest problem is not having that extra Dawn to be able to either leave open for a counter event or also being able to cheat out an additional character with your leader ability. So Shanks kind of does the job here. Actually, I would want to include Shanks at maybe a 3, just because I don't see it quite enough when I only have it as a 2 of, but it is a very important piece to at least equalize the board if your opponent has one big character that they played down and you aren't able to find your Lord of the Coast to stun it. The Shanks can at least KO it and get it off the board, and then the following turn you have a really big swing with this character. So very important. I do think that this is more of a mid-range style deck because all the bodies are anywhere from like 5 to 7, and they have really good stat lines for the 5 to 7, but when you do need to at least play something for late, Shanks is a great option for that. I have a playset of Otohime. This is a 2k counter that I honestly have never used the effect for. It's just a searchable 2k, and there's probably better 2ks to put into the deck overall. Maybe Tashigi, just so you can protect your board for the most part, because you're not running that many yellow characters. You have a lot of green characters, so Tashigi can at least protect those. But Otohime is searchable, so that's the reason why I have it in the deck. So I have a total of 8 searchable 2Ks, and if you need to use the ability, you can. This is probably the weakest choice in the deck, but there's probably plenty of other options out there as well. Zeus, however, is a great 2K for the deck because sometimes you are stuck with the top life being open, and so when your top life is flipped up, you cannot use your leader ability. So being able to play out a Zeus and then taking that top life so you can use your leader ability is really important, and then also being able to just answer a 5 cost on the field is a great value for only 2. And otherwise, this is just a 2k counter that's really solid if you need to use it for a 2k in a pinch, but I'm usually looking to use this as the kill spell. Running 2 Shiarli, which is just a 3-cost blocker that has an on play. You can flip the top card of your life face down and then look at the top 3 cards, reveal up to 1 Fishman Island type card and add it to your hand, and then place the remaining cards at the top or bottom of your deck in any order. Sometimes you can use this. Most of the times you're going to be playing this late, but sometimes you do need a 3 Dawn play. If you don't find your Megalo, this card is just as good. Actually, it's a lie. It's not just as good, although Megalo is the better choice of the 2. And then, of course, Megalo is a blocker for 3 that just says opponent's turn. If your leader is Shirahoshi, this character gains plus 4,000 power. So naturally, when it's on offense, it doesn't really attack well because it has 2,000 power, but it's a great defender. For only 3, you have a 6,000 power defender, which is really powerful, better than Sanji in red, or I guess it's Chopper in red. The actual art confuses me from time to time, but point being, this is a really great blocker for the deck. And then the best blocker for the deck, you have a playset of Chan Mage. This is a blocker that says activate main once per turn. If your leader is Shirahoshi, you may turn 1 card from the top of your life cards face down, and then at the end of your turn, set this character as active. This will be able to attack into something, and then at the end of your turn, will be able to defend yourself if you need to use it. Typically, I'm going to want to keep this as an attacker, so I usually don't use it to block unless I'm going to die. So this one is a great offensive tool for the deck. And then to round it out, we're running 2 of the You're Not My Type counter event. Just a great counter event for this specific deck. If your leader is Shirahoshi, up to 1 of your leader or character cards gains plus 4,000 power during this battle. I actually kind of want to increase this to 4 just because of how powerful it is, and obviously it's very much leader locked to this leader specifically. So you might want to increase this to 4 and then decrease other things in the deck. Maybe the Jinbeis don't need to be a playset of 4 here, but I think that overall this card's really powerful and I like seeing it as opposed to having something a little bit more defensive. But yeah, I think that this deck overall is actually better than I thought it was. When I first saw this leader, I thought it was going to be horrible because there's not an immense amount of like Sea Kings or Neptunians, and obviously Megalo is like there's just only kind of 1 Megalo that you can really play. So the effect of being able to cheat those things out isn't really great, but I think that the value that you actually end up getting when you do play a little bit more of a mid-range style deck with some banish options is really powerful. I was running an 8-cost Kid instead of the Shanks, and that ended up being pretty strong, but I do like the option to just outright KO something if you need it in a pinch. I think that this deck list overall performs really well against things in the meta, but I'm going to be honest here, it's not one that you are going to want to take to a really big tournament like a Treasure Cup or Regional. Thankfully, we don't have too many of those left. I guess not thankfully, but thankfully for the fact of playing this leader, we don't have too many of those left. But this is a great locals deck. I think that you're probably going to be able to surprise a lot of people with just how strong this deck can actually be. But with that all being said, let's take this version into the sim and see how it does. All right, starting off against a blue-purple Luffy, I want to take first because my curve is pretty good if I can find a smoker into a Hody Jones. I think this hand needs to be mulliganed, and this hand is more or less kind of the same, although we have Megalo to be able to play on 3. Maybe we can draw into something to play on to 5. That would be ideal, but I guess we'll have to have our fingers crossed for that. I think if we're able to find a Hody Jones, this match is probably a lot easier. They are just going to be swinging huge outright here. We'll take the 9, and I guess we will just... we don't really have too many options here, so let's just go ahead and swing the Megalo because we don't really have anything else to play. Kind of awkward, and it is a nice little defender at least, so that's good. So we'll swing 6 into 6, and they give us a 1K. Love to see that. We do want to be able to pressure them where we can. Unfortunately, because we can't swing, we don't really get that pressure with our leader. So yeah, it is what it is, but okay. Seeing a God Thread come down makes me feel much better that I swung with the Megalo instead of just leaving it upright. So we will take the 7, and we get a Smoker. So this is actually really good because we can play Smoker, and then what we can end up doing is we can cheat out a Yoroko. So that's really nice there. And then we can, I mean, we could use the Smoker ability, doesn't really matter, but we do have one open for You're Not My Type, just in case they decide to play or go really hard here. We could play out the Otohime draw, but I think it's fine to just keep it in hand here. The 2K is probably more valuable than the potential card draw that we're getting from it. And then the following turn will be on 9, so if they do have a really big body this turn, I think that we can KO it with the Shanks. Otherwise, we can play something like Jimbei out, and then cheat out another Yoroko, and then have a board full of 8Ks. I think here we just take it, since we're not going to be puddinged, we can hold on to the You're Not My Type for later. Let's go ahead and just play out. We can't rest the Sanji, unfortunately, because it is a 6 cost. That's fine, though. We do have the option to, at least if they block with the Sanji, swing into it. So anyway, we'll play out the Shirahoshi Searcher, we'll grab a Yoroko, we'll restand a Dawn with the Smoker, and I think what we end up doing here is we just cheat out a Yoroko, we'll swing 7. We could all do this in different sequential order, probably just swinging first and then playing out bodies, but I think it's fine the way we did it. 7 into 6, we'll counter out with the 2K, and they probably will take the 8 into 6 here because it's not banish, and then we are looking pretty good here. So we have a lot of bodies on the field, and we have one open for the plus 4,000 event, so hopefully they are not going to start spamming out Sanji Big Mom, because that will be a problem, because they can put any of these characters into my life, because they're all 6 or below. So one of the reasons why Blue-Purple can be sometimes difficult is if they do start seeing the Sanji Big Mom spam, your board is going to go, and obviously your leader can't really pressure them, so it's just a matter of time before they can close the game out. So we are able to at least flood the board here. They don't even have it. Okay, wow. This is actually really good for us because this is going to be KO'd by the Shanks. This is exactly what we need to see, a rush unit. And they're probably going to swing into, I was going to say, the Smoker here. And that's perfect because we have the exact counter with 1 card to get out of it. So we will use the You're Not My Type. And then if they decide to swing their leader into me, I will counter out. But they might just go for the Shirahoshi Searcher here because that's extra value. Although, to be fair, I mean, I will use it because I could use it and then play over it with the Shanks, but we're not going to get the chance to do so. So here we'll just go ahead and play the Shanks KO. We'll restand a Dawn, and then I think we can just swing a bunch of 8s here. We can go 8, 8, 8, 8, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on them. They're going to want to counter out of this one because it's banish, and then they might take 1, counter out of another one, and then probably block 1 if I had to guess, because they don't want to go down to 0. So that is probably what's going to happen, but an ideal world for me is that they go down to 0. Usually they're not going to want to do that. So a 2 and a 1, that's good for us to see those cards coming out of hand, although we do want them to take the banish hit, but it doesn't always happen. They take that 8. Will they take this one? I imagine they'll probably counter out of this one if they have counter. Otherwise, they might just take it and then block the last one. They do have the counter for this, and then we'll go 8 into 6. This is a lot of pressure coming their way. 8s are the perfect number to go into Blue-Purple Luffy, so we're really happy to be able to just spam the board like this. And we'll pass the turn. We'll leave one open just to feign that we have another You're Not My Type. But we're only running 2 in the deck, so you don't see it too often. And then here, what can they even do? This is a really good question here, because like, if they play another 9-drop Rush Luffy, if you grab a Gum Gum Giant, we can KO it with another Shanks. If they tap anything sideways, we can KO it with another Shanks. So yeah, I mean, we're looking pretty good. We're looking pretty solid here. We have a full board. Obviously, our leader can't swing. They just go God Thread. Okay, so they just aren't seeing Sanji something. Like, I guess this might be a little bit of a walk for a match, but we'll take it. This is how you kind of have to win against Blue-Purple. Kind of have to pray that they don't see their options here. 9 into, I'd imagine, a body. We'll go ahead and give them a 2K here. And then I think what we can end up doing is we could establish another body on the field. But I think what we do is we just swing 12 first with the Shanks because it's only a 1 Dawn investment. And they likely don't want to go down to 0, so they might give us a lot of counter up front. Otherwise, if they just take this, then I think we just swing 10s across the board, or at least 2 10s, and then put the rest on to Yoroko. And they might have the counter for it. They might not. We'll have to see. They do have a counter for that, just plainly. Really nice there. Another 10 into 6 here. They do have a Gum Gum Giant, so I would imagine this is where they use the Gum Gum Giant. Pitching out a... what do they pitch? This might tell about what's in their hand. So they do have the Sanji. I guess they just didn't have good Sanji plays based off of the size of the board. That's totally understandable. And then we'll go 13 into 6. This one... Okay, so they go another Gum Gum Giant, which means they won't be able to use their leader ability next turn. They pitch a 2K. They have to draw just 2Ks here. Okay, they did draw 2Ks. They got a little bit, I wouldn't say lucky, but they did at least see what they needed to do to get out of that. But I think it's pretty much over at this point. Being able to have the board as full as it is with their leader ability not being able to get off here. And they're just, yeah, I think this is just a concession, just a huge 12 and 2 lead. And that is all she wrote. Yeah, I think we just were able to really overwhelm the board immediately and upright. So yeah, it's kind of how you have to do it against blue-purple. Establish as many of the 8K bodies as possible, and then kind of hope that they don't see any big moms. All right, black-purple Luffy. I'm going to take first here because I want to take away their curve. I really like this hand because we have a really solid 5 play. We don't have anything to be able to play out on 1 or 3, but I think we just kind of like pass the first couple of turns here, and then just once we get to 5, we can establish the Smoker, then bring out the Chon Mage with our leader ability, and then the following turn play out the Hody Jones. So we have at least a couple of plays to make. We also have a Jinbei as well, so we don't need to take life if we don't have to. So that's something to keep in mind. They grab the Zoro, which is really good here, and they also have a Giant, so something to keep in mind for later. This is going to probably be an 8. Okay, just a 7 we'll take. Anything they would have hit us with, we would have taken anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So they grab... what do they grab with the Law here? I would imagine they're probably just going to try to find Beer Luffy if they don't have it. They grab another ramp piece, which means that they're probably looking to get to maybe 9 fast, if that's the case, and establish some big bodies. Like I said, we'll play out the Smoker, use the ability to bring out the Chon Mage, use the ability of the Chon Mage to put the life down, just in case. Doesn't really matter too much. So they do outplay, or they do play the Zoro again, so they're ramping pretty fast, which is pretty scary here. Put a Dawn underneath their leader. This could be a Sanji play, depending on how they... I mean, they're leaving 5 open here. Not too many run Sanji these days, but maybe they've added it back in. That's a really good inclusion, getting rid of the Smoker. Okay, so we'll go ahead and just play out the Jinbei, and then I think what we end up doing is we use the ability to rush into the Zoro, and then I think we just swing... I guess we could just swing 6 into lead here, and then cheat out a Yoroko, and restand the Chon Mage at the end of the turn. Probably going to be fine. Yep. Let's do it. Thank you. And then we'll pass the turn here, and they probably are going to play a really big body this turn, and we'll have to use the Chon Mage to at least block it down. So we are... I think we're in an okay spot here, but I don't ever feel super comfortable against Luffy, Black-Purple Luffy specifically, just because I do know how powerful they can be. They have a lot of bricks, apparently. They're pitching out a 3rd Zoro, so then the Frankie is not necessarily the most threatening play here. Okay, is this another Sanji? Okay, well, that's fine. They're building a really wide board. That is kind of annoying, considering I don't have any 2Ks. Finally get a 2K in hand here. And all of these Sanjis are a 6K, so I can't rest them with the Jinbei, which is kind of unfortunate. So I think what we do is just swing 8 into 6 here. They just let it go. That's fine. Let's go ahead and play the other Jinbei out, and I think we rest out the Frankie. I think I just want to get the blocker out of the way. I don't really care about the Zoro too much, so let's go ahead and just swing 8 into 5 here. We'll swing 9 into lead. It's kind of like an overkill, I would imagine, but let's just do it anyway. They could play Gum Gum Giant, so that's kind of the reason why we did that. And then leave 1 open just in case we get a You're Not My Type. And once again, our board is filled full of 8K bodies, which is going to be really difficult for the opponent to answer, especially since they're all 6 cost, so Sanji doesn't hit them anymore. They do have a 7 cost Sanji, so this is very interesting. They could rest the Yoroko. I don't think they're going to go into board because it's like really easy for me to defend. They might just try to pressure face here, which is kind of awkward because I still don't have any 2Ks, so we'll give them 2 1Ks here. I'm going to have to be careful on what they do. I think we take this one, and if they decide to like swing 7, we just like dump all of the 1Ks in our hand. They decide to swing 6 here, I think we just give them the 2 1Ks that we do have. And if they decide to go into the board, Hope for the best. But if they're leaving the 2 open, it might be because they have Gum Gum Giant, 2 of them at least. So at least we have double Hody Jones ready to go. Let's go ahead and just rest these 2 Dawn and then just swing 8 to see what they do to begin with. This might... Oh, wow, they gave up. Okay, so they had 2 Gum Gum Giants, but they had 4 2Ks, and then another 2K, and then 1K coming through. So 2-2, 2-2. We would have probably been able to get through with just the amount of Dawn that we have. So yeah, that's why Hody Jones is so good. All right, going against Shanks, I want to take first here. I think I'm going to mulligan the hand. This is much better. We have double Searcher into a Smoker. Maybe you can find something off of the Searcher this next turn. If they don't play an Uta out, I think we're feeling pretty good to play the Searcher, or use the Searcher rather, because it's going to at least distract them from attacking our face. And it's double Search event on their end, so they don't have Uta, which is really nice because it means they have to use their leader attack to get the Shirahoshi off the field. And what we can end up doing is we have a couple of Shirahoshis. That's really good. Let's go ahead and just grab, I think, ooh, Lord of the Coast is really good because we're able to stun things down. So that's really nice, of course. And then here, we'll just grab a Jinbei because it's really powerful. We did pass up a couple of Yorokos, but we do have one in hand, so at least we're not losing out from that value overall. This next turn, what we can end up doing is... Okay, interesting. Let's go ahead and just play the Smoker out, use the Smoker ability to restand 1. I don't have anything that I can really cheat out, so let's just go ahead and use the Shirahoshi. Grab another Jinbei. Yeah, I think that's fine. Jinbei's good. I was looking at the rest of the stuff there. We don't really need too many protection spells for the time being. And the reason why we did that is because we just want to get value off the Shirahoshi as opposed to cheating out a body that's not really going to be too powerful. So they play a Yasop. Okay, so this might be... Well, I was going to say more of a control build with Yasop, but I don't know. I don't know how they're building it these days. So let's go ahead and just play the Jinbei out. Let's rest the Lucky Roo. We'll go ahead and restand 1 open with the Smoker. And I think what we end up doing is we just go ahead and swing the Jinbei into the Lucky Roo. We could swing it into the Yasop, but I think just getting the blocker out of the way is better here. And I think we just go ahead and swing 7 into 6, just getting a leader ability plus a 1K. That's fine. I don't need a 2K out of their hand right now. We'll go ahead and cheat out the Yoroko, and then we could also bring out the Shirahoshi for the next turn as well, and then pass the turn from there. I think we're in a pretty good spot. It's going to be kind of difficult for them to at least answer the board. For them, since they're on 8, they could play a couple of things. They might put a Dawn underneath the Yasop, swing into the Smoker, get it down to 6, or maybe just swing into face, and then pop it with the Ben Beckman. They could have played a Rayleigh, but that doesn't really do too much. So I think their best play here is what they're probably going to be doing. So I'm going to give them a 2K if they swing into the Smoker. If they go into face, I'll just take it. They do swing into the Smoker, we'll give them a 2K here. And then with the 7, yeah, it's a Beckman, trashing the Smoker. That's unfortunate, but oh well. Here's a really good... Wow, that's a really, really good draw. The Shanks is really strong here. What we can end up doing is resting the Beckman with the Hody Jones, use the Shirahoshi to search out. I think a 2K is probably solid here at this point. And then we'll go ahead and swing 8 into 6. See if we can get the Yasop off the field. We can. That's really good here. We'll go 8 into 5. Likely, we'll take both of these hits, I would imagine. And then what we can do is we can just cheat out the Lord of the Coast here and stun down the Ben Beckman so they can't swing with it this next turn. They're going to be on 10, so they might have a either KO Shanks or... Okay, Rush Shanks is really good as well. Probably gonna... Okay, I was gonna say any of these characters, their choice. They'll semi-clear the board, but we have a Shanks to answer their Shanks, which is really good here. One of the reasons why that card's so good. We'll go 5 into 5. They might just use their leader ability here. Then we will go 8 into 5, and then another 8 into 5. We could cheat out a Tori, but I think it's just better. Or we could cheat out the Lord of the Coast, actually, and keep this Beckman stunned, but I think it's better just to keep the You're Not My Type open, just in case they play another. They don't. They play out the new starter deck Shanks, which they can cheat out because they have an 8K body on the field. So it's only 6 cost for them. And it buffs their leader up by 2,000. So 9 into 5, you can have the Lord of the Coast. That's fine. I don't mind. Not a big deal. And then here, if they go 9 into one of the bodies, we'll just give them a 2K. I think the Tori is the best 2K to give because we might need the Zeus for later. Here's where it gets a little bit tricky. I think what we can end up doing is we could establish a Jinbei, but I think we just swing... Let's swing 9 first, because it's going to be a leader ability plus 2K. Kind of awkward. I think now is the time where you have to swing up a little bit. We'll go 9 into 7. Kind of push for game if we can. And they just leave. Wow. Okay, so they did have 2Ks and some 1Ks in hand, but I think we would have been able to pressure them down. We had a lot of options here. We would have been able to stun the Beckman with the Lord of the Coast and then leave something open for You're Not My Type. We could have played a Jinbei. So yeah, I think we were in a pretty good spot there. All right, Purple Luffy here. I actually think that this hand is fine. We could mulligan it, see if we get something better, but I think it's fine. We do get something slightly better here. We do get the Lord of the Coast on 4, so it was a little bit of a risk, probably one that I shouldn't have taken, but it paid off because we do have a 4 into a 5, and then we can cheat out the Yoroko. Do use their leader ability and then ramp up with the Bond Clay. They're hyper ramping here, so we'll take the 6. Kind of awkward because like we don't really have too many plays. I think we just play out the Lord of the Coast and then pass the turn, so we just at least have a body on the field as opposed to nothing at all. So I'd rather just do that. I don't know what their plays could be here. They're probably just going to use their leader ability, and they could play an 8-cost Katakuri. They could also play a couple 4-cost. They could play a 7-cost Sanji and swing into it. Okay, so a Zoro Juro to grab a Sanji, and then what are they going to do here? Probably leader ability. Yeah, leader ability. Probably play another 4-cost if I had to guess. Oh, yep. Looks like that's what's going to happen. We'll give them a 1k here and another Zoro Juro. They're going really wide, which sucks for us because we can't pressure this board at all, but we'll pressure face at least. We'll give them a 5 into 5, and then we'll play out the Smoker, restand this, cheat out the Yoroko, and then pass the turn from there. So this is a little bit like, this is good for me at least, to have these 2 bodies in the field in the same turn. It's a better play than the Zoro Juro, but they're just going face. Okay, so they're playing it correctly. They're playing like super aggressive, which I think is how you're supposed to play it against me, because what am I going to do? Pressure you back? Like I do have decent bodies, but yeah, with all this Dawn open as well, I think we're in a rough spot here. So we'll see what they do. 9-cost Luffy would be the worst, and it is. Love to see it. Great. Okay, cool. Well, this is a really good card to have, at least, to protect myself this next turn. Let's go ahead, and I think we clear the board the best we can, but let's see what we can get off of this Shirahoshi. Grabbing a Lord of the Coast, perfect time to get that. We'll go, and I think we cheat out the Lord of the Coast here, freezing the Luffy. Then what we'll do is we'll restand with the Smoker, swing 5 into the Bond Clay, probably going to go down. And I think what we end up doing is we just swing 9 into lead, because this will probably be a Gum Gum Giant, if anything. And then I think what we could do, we have a couple options here. I think they're probably going to counter out of this one. Yeah, they do Gum Gum Giant, pitching a Bond Clay, and then another 1k out of hand. Okay, and then we'll go 8 into 6 here, getting another 2 cards out of hand if possible. It is possible. We'll play the Shirley or Shiarly or however you say it. And I think the only thing we can really grab here is it's a Fishman Island type, so I guess it grabs itself, or the 6-cost Jinbei, but I think this blocker is probably going to be better here. We'll just bottom deck the rest of the 2 here. And then pass the turn and hope for the best. Yeesh. This is a really rough spot to be in. But this is Purple Luffy. When they go first and they see a really good curve, it happens sometimes. So we'll go ahead and try to survive this turn. I would imagine this blocker is going to be rested. 5 in a lead. I think we just give him the blocker we showed. 6. Give him a 2k. Another 6 here. Give him a 2k. And then another 9-cost. Okay, cool. Yeah, they're definitely seeing a really good curve here. There's not much I can do about it, but it is what it is. We'll go ahead and give them the 1-cost event. And then we kind of have to push for game, and I don't think we have it based off of how many cards they have in hand. We'll go 9 into the lead with the Banish and see if we can get a Gum Gum Giant out of their hand immediately. 0-cost event plus a 2k. That's good to see that they didn't have the Gum Gum Giant there. We'll go 7 into lead, see if they take it. They do take it. We'll go 9 into lead, see if they take this. Will they be able to take it? They take it. We do have a small chance, but I don't think it's going to get through. Let's see if the 10 gets through. 2, 2, 2, 2. And we'll pass the turn for them to finish the game off, because that was pretty solid there. We will take the 10. We will block the next 10. And then 16 into lead. They have it. And they did have a ways to rest the blocker. They had a few 1Ks left. But yeah, they overwhelmed us. Of course, sometimes that's how the games go. All right, Green Purple Luffy. I think that this is a really solid hand for going against Green Purple Luffy. I want to take first. Usually Green Purple Luffy is going to want to go second anyway, so they're probably happy with that, but I'm also happy with going first because it means I can play out Smoker, cheat out a Chon Mage, and if we can draw into something that rests, whether it's a Jinbei or a Hody Jones, I think we're in the running for a pretty close game. Unfortunately, the first 2 turns of our game has been kind of awkward where we don't have anything to play, which when you're only running 6 3-costs, kind of happens. Play Zoro out, just have a body. We'll take the 5. And then here we'll play out the Smoker. Use the Smoker ability to restand a Dawn. Use the Leader ability to bring out a Chon Mage. Use the Chon Mage to flip a life down and then pass the turn. So for 5 Dawn, we were able to get 10 Dawn worth of play out on the field, which is Very powerful. Very nice to see. Here, they're probably going to play Sanji and Pudding, which is, you know, their best play. Okay, they grab a Nami, which grabs a Sanji and Pudding, which means that they're not going to be able to do a Sanji Pudding plus a Zoro Juro. It just means they have 3 Dawn to play with to see what they could do. So they use their stage on the Sanji and Pudding, which means that a Jinbei will not be able to rest it if we do draw into one. Our best draw would be a Hody Jones at some point if we can get it off of life, or if we can get it off of the top of our deck. That'd be really ideal. We also can't use the Zeus. We're just going to snap block the Zoro because I don't really want to give him any cards quite yet. We'll grab the You're Not My Type off the top, which is really nice to have for later in the game. Chopper, love to see that. And we get a Jinbei, which actually Jinbei is pretty solid here because of the Chopper. So what we can do is we can swing Jinbei into the Zoro. We'll rest... we'll rest the Chopper, and what we can do is we can actually keep the Chopper on the field rested with the Lord of the Coast, which is going to be really annoying for them to have to deal with. 8 into 5. I don't think they're going to want to protect this. This is too many cards. Oh, they are. Wow. Okay, let's go. Let's use our Smoker ability. Let's swing 8 into lead here. Just have them crit a life, and that's a really good one to crit because they don't get the trigger off of it. That's really nice to see. We'll go 6 into 5. They might let this one go, but they also might give us another 2k. But then they'd go down to 2 cards in hand, and the whole advantage of Green Purple Luffy here is that they get a lot of cards in hand over the course of a game, and they can protect their units, but having to protect their units like this so early sucks. So let's go ahead and just freeze the Chopper, which means that we can bypass it this next turn as well. They also are not going to be able to use their leader ability because Chopper is an animal and Foxy Pirate type character, so they... Unfortunately, with their leader ability saying that they have to have all Straw Hat Crew type characters on the side of the field, means that when they use their leader ability, they don't get the buff, which is very nice for us to see. And here, if we're able to get something that can rest any of these units, I think we're pretty solid. I think we go ahead and just take this one, and if they go Sanji and Pudding into life, I think we block 2k. I wanted to see where they swung their Sanji and Pudding, so maybe we just blocked off right, like just outright. I think that'd be better. Yeah, that would have been better. Oh well. We do get the Hody Jones here, which is nice to see. We're going to go 7 into the Sanji and Pudding. They let it go. We're in a good spot here. We're in a really good spot. Let's go ahead and just use the Smoker ability, and I think we go ahead and swing... We'll go 8 into 7 here, see if we can get a 2k out of hand. If they give us a 2k here, then we'll go 9 into 7 with the Hody Jones. Okay. Good to see, good to see. Let's go ahead and go 8 into 8. And I think... I don't want to swing with the Lord of the Coast. I kind of don't want to give them any card advantage, actually. I just want to swing with the Smoker into life, and that's it. Is that too greedy? I think it might be a little bit too greedy. Let's go ahead and play out the Lord of the Coast. We'll keep the Luffy Taro stunned, and the Chopper can come back up, right? That's fine. And then we're going to restand the Chon Mage at the end of the turn, and we do have a You're Not My Type. So we're looking pretty good here. I think that... us having or keeping this Chopper on the field and them not being able to block with it is quite the nuisance. It's kind of the pain for them because they want to use their leader ability, but they can't. And we're keeping some important characters rested down. We're clearing their board with the cards that we have, and we're just banishing life with the Smoker. We're only swinging Smoker into life, which, as I said, is probably super greedy, but it is what it is. Let's go ahead and give them a 2k here with a 6k swing. And I can't imagine what else they might have here. They might have another Sanji and Pudding, but once again, they can't use their leader ability or effectively use their leader ability. All right, they drop the 6-cost Luffy, and they swing 7. They use the ability of the Luffy. Wow, okay. I'm going to block and give them a 2k here, and if they swing again, I'll just give them the 1-cost event. But they're at 1 life, and I'm going to try to keep myself at 1 life so I can use the Zeus to just pop the Chopper. So that way, for only 2 Dawn, we get rid of the blocker and then just swing in. I think they realized that they couldn't really close out the game from there. And yeah, based off of what they had in hand, with no Dawn open, yeah, I think we would have had it. Us keeping this Chopper on the field and then just playing for the board every turn really just solidify the game for us. Purple Katakuri is one that I'm pretty confident in, but we'll see what they build their deck with. There's ways that they might be able to overpower us. I think this hand is pretty solid. Thankfully, we mulliganed for it. They are choosing to go first, which is fine. I think typically I want to go first anyway, but we can play second just as well. We do have a lot of 6-cost characters which can play into their stuff, or at least we can play things out pretty easily. They play out the Pudding, get immediate value, swinging with using their leader ability to swing for 6. We'll take it. And the Lord of the Coast trigger KOs at 3 cost or less. It doesn't do anything else besides that, so we'll just hold on to it for later. We might be able to stun down a bigger character of theirs. Here, I think we just play it, though, because of the fact that we have a second one in hand. I think it's fine to just go ahead and play this one, establish a body on the field, and pass the turn. This next turn, I would imagine they might swing just with the Katakuri. They probably going to play, I was going to say Sparrow, but they don't have it. They just play another Pudding Searcher, which is fine. They're just establishing probably something for late. They're grabbing the another Pudding, 3-cost Pudding here. They're going to swing 7, and they're going to get 2 Dawn back, or at least 1 Dawn back. No, 2 Dawn back, because both of them the trigger, so they get the 2 Dawn. Or is it the 1 Dawn? I'm not sure how that works. So anyway, we'll go ahead, and I think we just swing... there's a couple things we could do here. We could actually play the Chone Mage out. So let's swing 5 first, see what they do. And then we could play the Chone Mage and then cheat out a Yoroko. I think that's probably our best bet. Okay, they're just going to use their leader ability. That's fine. Might as well. We will see. Oh, there's a smoker on the top. We'd like to have that. And then we're able to get these 2 bodies out for 5, for 6. For 6, we played for 11. That's... The value there is really good. Hakai Ocean Sovereignty. This actually is really good into our deck. Oh my gosh. Really unlucky here. They're going to probably, yeah, get rid of the 2 standing units, and then I would imagine they're going to swing 7 into the Lord of the Coast, which means we have to protect it. Really unlucky here. They could go 5-6, but I think that's the same thing if they go 5-6. 5 means a 1, and the 6 means a 2k. If they just went 7, it means a 2 and a 1. This way, because they're swinging the Pudding, I am going to try to keep the Lord of the Coast alive so I can clear the board the next turn. Because what we can do is we can play a Jinbei, rest it, and then swing 6-8. And we could also play out a Yoroko with our leader ability. That Smoker's really nice, but I think we have to clear board here. Let's go ahead and swing 6 into the Pudding. If they counter out of this one, that's fine. We like to see that, especially with, they're at 5 life, so we want them to like lose cards out of hand before we start swinging into face. If the 6 goes through, I imagine the 8 goes through, and then here what we can end up doing is just cheating out another Yoroko. And then hopefully they don't have another Hakai Ocean Sovereignty in the deck, which is a pretty good add, by the way. I thought about adding that into my Katakuri deck, but I did not. So, yeah, pretty solid add overall. We are low in hand size, though, so that is rather annoying. So we'll have to see what they do with this turn. Of course, them being on 8 could be a Katakuri, the 8-cost Katakuri. Also on 8, which means that they could just cheat it out with the 2-cost Katakuri character. A couple of different plays that they could have, but regardless, I'm low in hand size and I don't like it. All right, they play out the Anana blocker to start off with. So they don't have the Katakuri. Okay, they're just going really ham here. If they're going into the Jinbei, I just have to let it go. I mean, obviously, if they go into Lord of the Coast, I have to let it go. I'm just letting it go no matter what. I don't have the counter to protect it, which definitely hurts, but I guess it is what it is. Hey. Well, I want to be able to use my leader ability this turn. Let's play out the Shirahoshi blocker. Play that out, flip the life down, and then we can actually do a couple of different cool things here. We'll be able to search off of this. We can grab, I guess, the Shirahoshi, because it's a Fishman Island type is the only thing we can grab here. That is fine. Place these on the bottom, I think it's fine. Yeah, we'll go ahead and play the Smoker. Restand a Dawn. Play out the Shirahoshi, I think. Yeah, play the Shirahoshi to get a search off first. See if we can grab something, maybe like a Jinbei. Maybe a 2k. 2k is fine. I think 2k is fine here. And then we'll go ahead and play over the Shirahoshi Searcher with a Chone Mage. Yeah, I think that's what we do. Double blocker. It sucks to do this. It sucks to play over the Shirahoshi because that is card value over the course of the game. But it would have gone down anyway if they had the Puddings on the field, so it doesn't really matter too much anyway. So with only 3 cards in hand, but a full board, we're looking pretty solid. I don't know. I think they got a 10 cost. I'm pretty sure they got a 10 cost Lin at some point in the game. I mean, this would be the turn to play it, of course. But yeah, I think we're in a good spot. Honestly, I think we're in a really good spot. If they play another Hakai Ocean Sovereignty, that's going to hurt a lot. And there it is. There's another one. This is very interesting that they're just not playing any... They're not playing for board. They're just trying to clear as much as possible, which I totally get it. It's fine. If they decide to go after the Lord of the Coast, I think we just block with the 3-cost Shirahoshi. And then we just have a couple of bigger bodies, like the 5-cost, or the 4-cost Lord of the Coast and the 5-cost Chone Mage. Do our best here. Black Maria. Black Maria with 8 Dawn is an interesting choice. Huh. Okay, so they're going to go 6. They have double blocker here. They're going to go 6 into 5. I think we just give them 2k here. And depending on what we draw, we might just want to play the Zeus. Okay, Megalo, not the best card to have. I think what we do is we play the Zeus to KO the Charlotte and Nana, which means that we're going to be able to draw the Smoker off the top of the life. Then we can play the Smoker out. Yep, let's do that. We'll play the Smoker out, restand a Dawn, and I think we just go 6 because they could use leader ability, so we're going to force them to use a leader ability plus a 1k. I actually think we swing with the 3-cost blocker as well, and then play out the Megalo with our leader ability over the Zeus with 1 card in hand. They have no board though, so I think we're comfortable doing that. And we get to have the Chone Mage restand at the end of the turn. So I think that's fine. Let's use our leader ability here. What do they have? Okay, so they do get a trigger. We're going to claim the One Piece. Perfect. They grab a Katakuri, the small Katakuri, so that could be a problem if they spam those out and get a bunch of 8 costs in the field. That is going to be quite the nuisance for us, but let's see what they do this next turn. We'll restand the Chone Mage. We do have a couple of blockers to at least protect life. We do have a Lord of the Coast in case they play like a 10-cost Big Mom. If they play the 8-cost Katakuri, the Lord of the Coast is like less effective overall. Okay, it's a 10-cost, which means that we're going to hold on to the Lord of the Coast. And if they decide to go for the board, they can have the board. It makes sense why they had the Black Maria, because what that means is they're able to use the Lin effect to -5 Dawn to give them plus 2,000 for the turn. We'll let the Shirahoshi go. If they decide to swing Lin into the Lord of the Coast, we're just going to block with the Megalo so that we have a higher attack value on the next turn with the Lord of the Coast. And we don't mind losing that blocker along the way. If they decide to go face, I think we just take it and keep the blockers in the field. Totally a couple of options there. If they decide, either way, whatever they decide, I think we're in a good spot. But the Black Maria setup makes sense now because if they do decide to use the Dawn -5, they can get it right back with the Black Maria. Or at least on the following turn. So they're not really punished too hard here. Okay, so interesting. We'll just go ahead and I think we just cheat out the Lord of the Coast. Hody Jones being that last life is pretty nice. We're going to go ahead and swing 9 into 5 here. Swinging a big banish swing, which if they use their leader ability to Dawn -1, to give them plus 1,000 power, so they're at 6. Then they Dawn -5 with the Lin. They'll be at 8, which means they only need to give us a 2k here. Pretty solid. Looks like that's what they're doing. Love to see it. That Zeus could be pretty handy later on if they decide to play a blocker. We can get rid of it if we have a life, but also the Hody Jones being the last life means that we can just use the Hody Jones to rest blockers. They don't have Gum Gum Giant. Okay, 2 1Ks there. It's very telling. I think what we do is just push them down to 0. Pressure them down. We'll put them down to 0. 9 to 7 will likely go through, and then another 9 to 7 will likely go through. We'll restand the Chone Mage, and then we will have 2 blockers with 1 life, and I don't think there's a way for them to really push through here because they don't have any rush units that they can play because they're only at 5 Dawn right now, which is part of the problem of playing the Lin because you kind of want to use it as a way to stay alive for like the closing moments of the game, because if they had 10 Dawn to play here again, then they would be probably able to pressure us a little harder, especially with only 2 cards in hand, but of course we do have 2 blockers. Yep, using the Black Maria to gain 5 rested so that they can immediately get the value from playing that Lin the previous turn, but they don't have a lot to do for the rest of the turn, unfortunately. They have 5 Dawn to try to break through, and I don't think they have any blockers. They could spam out like 2-cost Katakuris if they have 8 costs in hand, but they did pitch 1 to stay alive the previous turn, so they might be regretting that now. Oh, they're just putting 4 on the Black Maria. Okay. If they're swinging 6, this actually does connect, by the way. I guess they could swing 6 into 5. We'll let that one go. Maybe that was a mistake. Maybe I should have just blocked with the Megalo. 7 into the Smoker. We'll give him a 1k here. Yeah. Maybe we should have just blocked the Megalo. That might have been better. That way we could pressure a little bit harder here. So let's go swing 6 into 5. They might use leader ability and then Lin again, so that it's like free value for them to not have to give any cards here. Yep, that's what they're doing. Lin's good, but I think Lin would just be better if they were able to play this. Like if they could establish 2 and then have this be on the field, would be really powerful. Let's swing 9 into 7, ask for 2 cards out of hand, and then we'll put the rest on the Lord of the Coast and finish the game here. 2... And they were just bricked up. Okay, wow. So yeah, this is one of the reasons why maybe they should have just stayed at 10, so they could double Lin and then be plus 4,000. Because they were just bricked up after that. Insane. Let it go. We'll swing 5 into 4. they'll let this go, and then we should use the Jinbei because it can attack the turn it's played. So let's go ahead and grant it the ability to rush in. We'll go 8 into 4. And then we'll just swing 6 into lead because it's just guaranteed to hit. There's no reason to put extra Dawn on. And I think what we can do is we can cheat out another Chone Mage over the Lord of the Coast because it's just better statted and it's a blocker. And then pass the turn from there. So yeah, it's not the, I mean, we're losing value by losing a body on the field, but I think that the value we're getting off of this blocker is going to be better over the course of the game. Not that the game is going to last too much longer, just because we are in such a strong position that I don't know how Bonney comes out of this one. They did, by the way, they had a Cavendish in hand. Maybe they drew into it like the turn that they had their 8-cost kid. Kind of awkward that they didn't play it down if they had it on curve, but I would imagine that if they had it on curve, they would have played it on curve. So here, I think we just go ahead and take this one. We don't mind going down too low. They have a Basil Hawkins into a Tashigi, just dumping their hand, and they don't have any Dawn open. They don't have any cards in hand. I think this is pretty much game here. We'll like at least bait out to see if we can get the Basil Hawkins to block. Maybe we'll focus our attention into that for one swing, but if they take this hit, then I think what we can end up doing is just trying to pressure game. Because like there's no, like they have no cards in hand and we can just math it out at this point. They can't rest any of our characters. We'll go 7, we'll go 9, we'll go 11, and then the rest on whatever characters remaining. Because this is all guaranteed math here. This is all guaranteed. So let's go ahead and just swing 11. This will put them down to 0 if they take it. It's guaranteed to at least go through. They might have to just block just to stay alive, but I don't know if that's the best plan. Really don't. Okay, they do block. So I think just in case they have like a Hody, we have lots of counter in hand, but let's play it the smart way. Let's play out the Jinbei here, or swing 10 with the Jinbei instead of 11, because that way we can leave 2 open. And then what we're going to end up doing is we're going to use our leader ability, because we can't flip these back up. We're going to use our leader ability, not bring anything out, and then we can flip this at the top at the end of the turn. And then we have 2 Dawn open and a blocker. They have a Hody Jones of their own. They either rest 2 of the Dawn and leave the blocker open. There's also the world where we might have been able to use double ability for the Chone Mage and stand both of them up, but I'm not sure if that's how that works. So I'll have to test that out later. But regardless, we're playing super safe for defense because if it is a Hody Jones, that's their only way out. There it is. They rest the blocker, they rest the Dawn. We do have the 1 open here to be able to at least get out of these attacks. So it was over no matter what, but just the extra safety precautions there. Play to the best of your ability, play to your opponent's outs, and try to shut them down. So yeah, we were able to get out of that one, and with that, that's the end of the game, because the most they can do is 5-7 or 6-6, and we have plenty of counter in hand. So this, unfortunately for them, they didn't see their curve, which can throw them off a little bit. They were able to establish a kid for a turn, but they were so low in hand size because the way that Shirahoshi plays is kind of just like a starve the opponent out by going for the board, and I think that really works in these scenarios. So that's all she wrote. Yep, that's I mean, Hody Jones is such a good card. The fact that the only way out that they had was Hody Jones, and obviously Hody Jones for me playing it super early is really good in this matchup. So GG. With the exception of that purple Luffy game, I actually think that this has a pretty good chance into a lot of the purple decks. As you saw, we were able to bully a lot of those by just shutting down their Gum Gum Giants, or in the case of the Katakuri, just being able to overwhelm the board with a bunch of 8k attacks. I think that is really powerful and a lot of good value just off of the leader ability, plus maybe playing like a smoker very early on. You get a lot of the Dawn recycled back, and you can just really confuse your opponent and maybe overwhelm them in some scenarios and cause them to bleed cards out of their hand, which is honestly the best way to play the game if you're going for more of a control route, which this is not control, but this is definitely along the lines of kind of like a control-y mid-range deck, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, being able to just like swing into the board, having that combat damage be the way you control, or getting cards off the field, because you don't really have too many just removal spells outright. So this is just a great way to bleed your opponent's hands. Of course, there's not a lot of great card draw for what we have here. There are other options that you can add into the deck. You have the 5-cost, I forget his name, but I believe Shirahoshi's father is a really good option as well to be able to draw cards, but other than that, I think that that's probably something a little bit lacking in the deck. So we are just kind of overflowing it with a lot of just big stat lines, and I think it's pretty strong. So let me know what you guys think. What have you included in your Shirahoshi deck? Overall, I'm super excited to see what you guys think about this one, because I do think it's a lot of fun. Not super competitive, but it is a lot of fun, and I think that's important from time to time to find those decks that you enjoy playing. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.